Section 62 of The Red and the Black by Stendhal, translated by Horace Barnett Samuel. This Librivox recording is in the public domain. Read by Peter Dan. Chapter 62. The Tiger. Alas, why these things, and not other things? Beaumarchais. An English traveller tells of the intimacy in which he lived with a tiger. He had trained it and would caress it, but he always kept a cocked pistol on his table. Julien only abandoned himself to the fullness of his happiness in those moments when Mathilde could not read the expression in his eyes. He scrupulously performed his duty of addressing some harsh word to her from time to time. When Mathilde's sweetness, which he noticed with some surprise, together with the completeness of her devotion, were on the point of depriving him of all self-control, he was courageous enough to leave her suddenly. Mathilde loved for the first time in her life. Life had previously always dragged along at a tortoise pace, but now it flew. As, however, her pride required to find a vent in some way or other, she wished to expose herself to all the dangers in which her love could involve her. It was Julien who was prudent, and it was only when it was a question of danger that she did not follow her own inclinations. But submissive and almost humble as she was when with him, she only showed additional haughtiness to everyone in the house who came near her, whether relatives or friends. In the evening she would call Julien to her in the salon in the presence of 60 people, and have a long and private conversation with him. The little Tanbeau installed himself one day close to them. She requested him to go and fetch from the library the volume of Smollett, which deals with the Revolution of 1688, and when he hesitated, added with an expression of insulting haughtiness, which was a veritable balm to Julien's soul, "Don't hurry." "Have you noticed that little monster's expression?" he said to her. "His uncle has been in attendance in this salon for 10 or 12 years, otherwise I would have had him packed off immediately." Her behaviour towards Messieurs de Croisenois, de Luz, etc., though outwardly perfectly polite, was in reality scarcely less provocative. Mathilde keenly reproached herself for all the confidential remarks about them which she had formerly made to Julien, and all the more so since she did not dare to confess that she had exaggerated to him the, in fact, almost absolutely innocent manifestations of interest of which these gentlemen had been the objects. In spite of her best resolutions, her womanly pride invariably prevented her from saying to Julien, "It was because I was talking to you that I found a pleasure in describing my weakness in not drawing my hand away when M. de Croisenois had placed his on a marble table and had just touched it." But now, as soon as one of these gentlemen had been speaking to her for some moments, she found she had a question to put to Julien, and she made this an excuse for keeping him by her side. She discovered that she was enceinte, and joyfully informed Julien of the fact. "Do you doubt me now? Is it not a guarantee? I am your wife for ever." This announcement struck Julien with profound astonishment. He was on the point of forgetting the governing principle of his conduct. How am I to be deliberately cold and insulting towards this poor young girl who is ruining herself for my sake? And if she looked at all ill, he could not, even on those days when the terrible voice of wisdom made itself heard, find the courage to address to her one of those harsh remarks which his experience had found so indispensable to the preservation of their love. "I will write to my father," said Mathilde to him one day. "He is more than a father to me, he is a friend. That being so, I think it utterly unworthy both of you and of myself to try and deceive him, even for a single minute." "Great heavens, what are you going to do?" said Julien in alarm. "My duty," she answered, with eyes shining with joy. She thought she was showing more nobility than her lover. "But he will pack me off in disgrace." "It is right to do so. We must respect it. I will give you my arm, and we will go out by the front door in full daylight." Julien was thunderstruck, and requested her to put it off for a week. "I cannot," she answered. "It is the voice of honour. I have seen my duty. I must follow it, and follow it at once." "Well, I order you to put it off," said Julien at last. "Your honour is safe for the present. I am your husband. The position of us will be changed by this momentous step. I, too, am within my rights. Today is Tuesday. Next Tuesday is the Duc de Retz's at home. When M. de la Mole comes home in the evening, the porter will give him the fatal letter. His only thought is to make you a duchess, I am sure of it. Think of his unhappiness." "You mean think of his vengeance." "It may be that I pity my benefactor, and am grieved at injuring him, but I do not fear, and shall never fear anyone." Matilda yielded. This was the first occasion, since she had informed Julien of her condition, that he had spoken to her authoritatively. She had never loved him so much. The tender part of his soul had found happiness in seizing on Matilda's condition as an excuse for refraining from his cruel remarks to her. The question of the confession to M. de la Mole deeply moved him. Was he going to be separated from Matilda? And however grieved she would be to see him go, would she have a thought for him after his departure? He was almost equally horrified by the thought of the justified reproaches which the Marquis might address to him. In the evening he confessed to Matilda the second reason for his anxiety, and then, led away by his love, confessed the first as well. She changed colour. "Would it really make you unhappy," she said to him, "to pass 6 months far away from me?" "Infinitely so. It is the only thing in the world which terrifies me." Matilda was very happy. Julien had played his part so assiduously that he had succeeded in making her think that she was the one of the two who loved the more. The fatal Tuesday arrived. When the Marquis came in at midnight, he found a letter addressed to him, which was only to be opened himself when no one was there. "My father, all social ties have been broken between us, only those of nature remain. Next to my husband, you are and always will be the being I shall always hold most dear. My eyes are full of tears. I am thinking of the pain that I am causing you, but if my shame was to be prevented from becoming public, and you were to be given time to reflect and act, I could not postpone any longer the confession that I owe you. If your affection for me, which I know is extremely deep, is good enough to grant me a small allowance, I will go and settle with my husband anywhere you like, in Switzerland, for instance. His name is so obscure that no one would recognize in Madame Sorel, the daughter-in-law of a Verrières carpenter, your daughter. That is the name which I have so much difficulty in writing. I fear your wrath against Julien. It seems so justified. I shall not be a duchess, my father, but I knew it when I loved him, for I was the one who loved him first. It was I who seduced him. I have inherited from you too lofty a soul to fix my attention on what either is or appears to be vulgar. It is in vain that I thought of Monsieur Coisenot with a view to pleasing you. Why did you place real merit under my eyes? You told me yourself on my return from Hyères that young Sorel is the one person who amuses me. The poor boy is as grieved as I am, if it is possible, at the pain this letter will give you. I cannot prevent you being irritated as a father, but love me as a friend. Julien respected me. If he sometimes spoke to me, it was only by reason of his deep gratitude towards yourself, for the natural dignity of his character induces him to keep to his official capacity in any answers he may make to anyone who is so much above him. He has a keen and instinctive appreciation of the difference of social rank. It was I confess it with a blush to my best friend, and I shall never make such a confession to anyone else, who clasped his arm one day in the garden. Why need you be irritated with him after 24 hours have elapsed? My own lapse is irreparable. If you insist on it, the assurance of his profound respect and of his desperate grief at having displeased you can be conveyed to you through me. You need not see him at all, but I shall go and join him wherever he wishes. It is his right, and it is my duty. He is the father of my child. If your kindness will go so far as to grant us 6,000 francs to live on, I will receive it with gratitude. If not, Julien reckons on establishing himself at Besançon, where he will set up as a Latin and literature master. However low may have been the station from which he springs, I am certain he will raise himself. With him I do not fear obscurity. If there is a revolution, I am sure that he will play a prime part. Can you say as much for any of those who have asked for my hand? They have fine estates, you say. I cannot consider that circumstance a reason for admiring them. My Julien would attain a high position, even under the present regime, if he had 1,000,000 and my father's protection. Matilda, who knew that the Marquis was a man who always abandoned himself to his first impulse, had written 8 pages. What am I to do? Said Julien to himself while Monsieur de la Mole was reading this letter. Where is, first, my duty, second, my interest? My debt to him is immense. Without him I should have been a menial scoundrel, and not even enough of a scoundrel to be hated and persecuted by the others. He has made me a man of the world. The villainous acts which I now have to do are, first, less frequent, second, less mean. That is more than as if he had given me 1,000,000. I am indebted to him for this cross, and the reputation of having rendered those alleged diplomatic services which have lifted me out of the ruck. If he himself were writing instructions for my conduct, what would he prescribe? Julien was sharply interrupted by Monsieur de la Mole's old valet. The Marquis wants to see you at once, dressed or not dressed. The valet added in a low voice as he walked out by Julien's side, He is beside himself. Look out. End of section 62.